Oh, nice, 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 nice. And hopefully, because we switched patch, we're going to see some more of them today. They're not letting NV Carry slam the Yasuo, so that's a shame.
I mean,
Nico's
it's a
still
great ban.
banned. That's a bit surprising, don't you think? Because she was kind of guided on this patch. Like her ulti's been changed. So the Pop Blossom and the I don't know the names. I'm just
Just
trying
say
to throw it out, 'cause it
RQW.
doesn't
I have no
know.
idea. I just say
know the words.
QWR.
Yeah,
Only Duckling
so-
needs to memorize these things, alright?
Yeah,
We don't
that's
have
my
to do that. Just say QW. The Q's being nerfed to the ground. That was a huge
The
part of
Ivan
the
ban
trading
as well,
ability.
though.
Yeah, Ivan Band's interesting.
Yeah, because obviously he was very strong one patch ago. I'm wondering, maybe these
Yeah.
teams just haven't read the patch notes yet and realized we're on 13-13. Regardless, though, straight into the Sire AD carry, keeping our eyes open. Will the Ophelio still be picked despite the nerves, or will we, divert our AD carry meta towards something more interesting, you could say?
I mean, Gooby's never been like a staunch Aphelios main. I actually consider Ezreal as a champion whenever I think about Gooby. So I don't think he's going to be massively hit by it. It's not even necessarily something I think about doing here. This feels like a Taxa champ for sure. We normally see Taxa on stuff like Poppy, on stuff like Sejuani in particular. Every Taxa I think of in my head, I think that. I also do think of Olaf from years and years ago, but less so common now. This fits in the mold of a ganking jungler that facilitates his lanes, and also someone you could do very, very funny steals with. And this, if it isn't just a hover, could be a really big part of a heavy all-in composition. Okay, Verdant's identity is very,
We're going
very clear.
dogpiling.
Yeah.
We're going dogpiling in this game. I love that. But this could. I'll ask you a question, veteran, as far as what the potential flexibility of this role pick is, because I know obviously as a jungler, it got changed. It's being buffed like jungle ratios and stuff like that. Like he's very good as a jungler, and that's what we default to, saying that it's probably going to be a Taxa pick. But would you do you think there's a chance of Venom could pick it in the bot lane to kind of throw a spanner in the draft?
I mean, definitely, especially because this is 13-13, so it's no longer the big static Shiv Kai'Sa that we were seeing picked into mid lane before. So if this is a Kai'Sa bot lane, Rel paired with the Kai'Sa in that bot lane will be insanely sick on 6. But you do want a champion that does a lot level 1, and whereas Kai'Sa's a really good level 2 spike, level 1 not so much. When both teams are in the minion wave like that, unless you get some real cheese in like Tribush or all the way up on the third bush level 1, it's difficult to make the Rel as effective as it would be if another champion that, wants to, is fine being within that minion wave or even being near it and won't lose out the power. Oh, but it is going to be Relbot.
Yeah, and the Railbot, I actually really like that. Having played a lot of Railbot myself, she is still very strong despite the damage nerfs. As you say, it could have been a good Taxa champ in the jungle, but I think Ventil, he's a kind of guy who likes this kind of playstyle on the very lane-oriented support you can put on the rail if you just play for lane. I really like this. I actually really, really like this, but I do think Ruddy with the Sire Rakan have gone with something more standard, more traditional, built Dion as well. This is a stock standard composition, easy to execute. So I like what Ruddy's going on, but I like the excitement of the Verdant draft at the moment.
It's just always funny to see a Nunu ban. Obviously, Zapdo, massive solo queue Nunu player. I actually, right now, yes, they're interesting picks on Verdant, but it is all heavy on engage. And with the Sejuani, you're going to see something we talked about in the pre-game, which is Nita's tendency to go into these melee champions as well. Sejuani fits really, really well with that, and those melee champions inevitably fit with an all-in composition. But what have Ruddy picked versus an all-in composition? They've picked disengage. It was a disengage Zion the first pick. Rakan pairs really well with Zion, basically makes it a fortress post 6. Ornn is a very, very difficult champion to dive and make super aggressive plays on. Ruddy do have a champion to disengage, and Verdant have picked into that. They saw Zaya as the first pick. They must know it's easy for Ruddy to move into a full disengage composition.
I think something that's important to note as well, whenever you're looking at picks and ban in League of Legends, is just the ease execution. Like, how easy is it for your team to pilot your team comp? Because it's all well and good us talking about like min-maxing and really like the in-depth mechanics of what champions and how they play into the opposing champions. But Zyrakan, Ornn, does it get easier than that when you're slapping down your first 3 picks? Like, it's like such an easy synergistic bot lane to play. It's not complicated whatsoever. It's versatile when it comes to that, like self-peel and roaming and stuff. And this is where it's going to get interesting here. I feel like Verdant's just going to skill check Ruddy. That when I look at this draft, this is how I feel. Like, I think Nile is one of if not the best top lanes we have in the NLC, and a Fiora into a tank matchup, like, he could absolutely run away with this game. Not to mention that synergy you get with Sejuani. I know it's all about bot meta right now, but holy crap, if Sejuani goes anywhere near this Fiora and the passive you can stack, the Sejuani passive you can stack, those ganks are going to be so free. And the Nocturne slapping down here for Zapdo. It's not Nunu, but it does begin with the same letter. And definitely throwing a bit of something interesting here in this team.
Oh, do it. Do it.
Okay.
It's actually such a good scenario. It's a good scenario, but the problem is you don't know what the enemy's going to pick. If they pick the LeBlanc, then you counter it with the mouse. If they pick the Echo, you counter it with the mouse. Like, if you assume the enemy's going to go some kind of melee mid, then going Malzahar here works into all of the ranges on the opponents. But did that get locked? Is it the Echo?
That is
Yeah.
locked. That is an Echo.
That's
I
locked.
can't remember.
That is an
the last
Echo.
time I've seen an Echo in competitive play.
Yeah,
Has he
they
recently
also...
risen in popularity, or is it just like completely out of left field?
MV Carry needs a champion that can potentially match sides later on, needs a champion that can work effectively against all-in, and Echo is both of those. Crucial thing on the Nocturne here, you have a full split push composition from Verdant, but Nocturne, like, try extending over in lane solo against a Nocturne that can just press R and B on you at any point. It actually makes it very difficult to play out those situations, and then if you group, you are into, like Foxdrop says, a really easy press R to disengage composition. What Verdant have to do is try to make picks in the in-betweens. If they can make picks in jungle while splitting the map, rather than try to go for these like freeway sieges, then they negate the Nocturne pick and they could maybe catch Ruddy out before they group. But if these teams group, you have to think that's entirely in favor of Ruddy.
I am very, very intrigued, especially by the LeBlanc pick, right? We talked a bit about this before we went on air, you know, with the static shift changes, where she's just going to fall out of the meta and we won't see her again, but still being locked in here kind of signals we're going back to the one-shotty LeBlanc build, full AP, just trying to burst down the important target, or are you still trying to somewhat force the static shift for more split push and side lane pressure? What are we thinking about this?
That is a very good question, because if there's one thing that pro players are, okay, it's they are not very good at reading patch notes and they're stubborn, right? So if they've got a feel for this LeBlanc, they've got a feel for the stack shift LeBlanc, that, oh yeah, it's really great, it's cool, we really love how it works in the side lane. I would not be surprised to see it being slapped down again. Obviously, I don't think that's what's going to happen here, to be honest. Like, I think that really is just dead in the water, and shouldn't be something that they try and go for. But who knows? Like, honestly, who knows with League of Legends pro players? So we'll see what Knight decides to do on that LeBlanc.
I'd be surprised if it was static shift purely because LeBlanc was a very known Echo counter back in the day. It's probably Echo's hardest matchup straight up on the normal burst build. Not because you auto him to death, but because you just auto W trade perma and he can't really do anything about it. The issue here, though, is that it's LeBlanc with Sejuani, so Echo just goes Mercs treads and he's invincible. So whereas I like the LeBlanc as a one-on-one, I ultimately agree with Foxdrop. Players are stupid. If you think about this a bit more through, you realise this might not be the best time to do the LeBlanc here. Maybe we could have gone for one of the AD counters for Echo and maybe something more synergy of such.
You really have a way with the words, veteran. It was beautiful. Players are stupid. That's what we took away from that point.
It's true.
Regardless, though, yeah, I'm really excited for this. So it seems like it's more for the good matchup, and I really like the thought process behind that for Verdant, because I really do rate Knight as laning phase in general. That's where we have seen him been the strongest, gaining these 20-30 CS leads, then taking that lead when the laning phase ends and applying that pressure elsewhere on the map. So happy to see him go for something more easy to execute in the lane, you could say, but I do agree with the 2v2 point as well. You know, buying Merchants is a very valuable item all of a sudden. But I want to bring it back to the junglers again, because Foxtrap, you mentioned the bot lane meta, but you also mentioned how strong Sejuani and the Fiora will be if they pair together. Where do you think Tacto will be spending his time? Will he try and get Nila ahead here on the Fiora, or will he play towards the bot-centric meta?
I think, considering it is Verdant and you're in the NLC, the win condition here is like if Nila can just run over the game against Ornn, like it's over, like straight up over. But it's not about top lane; it's about bot lane so far early. Gooby's taking so much damage. Really good trade there. Zyra Khan doing Zyra Khan things already at level 1. What do we say about that ease of execution? Right, you just press a button and you win, and there it is. They've won the level 1.
Though ease of execution for the rest of the laning phase is a little bit harder, because if you have to start with W on the Rakan, you actually lose a lot of laning phase power. A lot of that comes from your ability to just Q-poke perma and then get all of your sustain back. So you have to win a trade like that extremely hard. You can actually see Rel's portrait is now on top of Rakan again. Rakan's gone in, but even though I see the HP bars going down, can't quite see anything else. I love this Nala top lane, by the way. Like, you mentioned Nala looking like one of the best top laners. On split pushers, absolutely. This guy is like the split pusher in the NLC. We were hoping Verdant were going to play full around him. That hasn't really been the case, but this game feels a lot more like the Verdant that we thought we were going to see.
Yeah, and I'm yet again just stumbling over Nida's build here again. Going the fleet footwork, building the AD early on, signal static shift, and just to those who aren't aware, the static shift energized minion damage previously had 125% AP ratio. This patch, it has been removed to 0. No AP ratio on energized minion damage. It does still scale somewhat with AP on champion damage, so it will still deal damage in the 1v1s and so on, but the wave clear is heavily nerfed by going this build path. Regardless, bringing it back to the bot lane point, I want to mention in terms of the summoner, Scooby, I think he thought he had heal maybe, but he did end up popping the ghost in that exchange, so it was, you know, a very, very favorable trade for Ruddy, getting a 1-for-1 in the summoner exchange and forcing Gooby to already pop his potion.
Yeah, 100%. Honestly, I'm wondering now if we're actually on 13-13, because you make a really good point about the static shift. The thing about the AP ratio on minions that a lot of people may not realize is if you went Dark Seal and Static Shiv, you were already one-shotting the minion wave. You didn't have to go a full AP item for that. You didn't have to go full Night Stalker for that. Just the Dark Seal. Now, there's no real incentive to play the AP with it outside of your ability to impact team fights. So if you just want to impact team fights, you go for the full AP build anyway. It was never very strong in that situation in the first place. So I'm wondering, genuinely I'm wondering if the players are on 13-13 right now. But yeah, like interesting to see how this plays out. It does, on one step though, it does make Smirk Treads less viable than Echo. So maybe actually Naito is completely 9-heading it here.
Love that. He's listening. He was listening to what you were saying. Or maybe he just got like instant regret.
You could be in a lot of trouble if Tactic decides to go in now, just able to dash away with the extended range. Looked like Verdant might have wanted to force the play there, but unable to. They haven't been performing too well. Obviously kept even in CS, but Ruby's been forced to use 3 pots already, traded down to half HP. Both junglers in the vicinity could go for something, just seems to try and shove the wave early on.
And that's not necessarily like poor play by Verdant. Like short of a straight level 1 cheese from Verdant, this lane was always going to go in favor of Toast and Puri on that Zyra Khan. What you want to do as Kai'Sa is you want to chill, you want to relax, alright, have a break, have a Kit Kat, and then on level 6, press R at some point and the enemy just evaporates. And that's basically how you want to play out this lane. So Gooby, he's chilling, he is not that far behind in CS. Yes, they took some bad trades early, and it could have been nice if they could have gotten something level 1, but they didn't, and it's not the end of the world. They'll still have really strong skirmishing power. I feel like any 2v2, any 3v3 post 6 will still be won by Verdant. Ruddy can survive them, but it's going to be in the real 5-on-5s where Ruddy shines.
So that's really what we're waiting for, the full-on 5v5s. If you are already fan, looking over towards Nila again in the top lane, trying to see how much of a lead he's managing to build up for himself here so far. So good, you could say the CS is looking good. That's a big wave he's collecting at the moment as well. Slowly but surely, we're getting ever so slightly closer towards the level 6s as well. The Drake has spawned early on. You mentioned the strength in the Ruddy 2v2 early on in the bot lane as well. Could we maybe try and see them use that to snowball into an early Drake?
I want to see this Nala advantage in top really get extended here. Oh my goodness, what's going on?
Oh, that's a great chain. But with Pew being there as well, disengage very quickly coming through from the side of Ruddy.
Yep, and I mean, Echo does have a good laning phase, lane state for himself, right? He has the R, he isn't about to be one-shot, he has managed to get from that trade, the lane coming back into him, so he's somewhat immune from Zap, though, just, somewhat immune from Taxa, I apologize, just going in on his face here for a bit. But, if he wants to play the game like that, then Verdant are the ones who are going to have priority on control over this jungle. They're the ones that are going to be able to play for it. And Ruddy, they may only be able to sit there and watch. They have to fight if they want to get this back.
Yeah, they're going to do that as well. This crab control is actually quite important as well at this point. If Ruddy were going to go for this dragon, then having information could be crucial for Verdant, but I don't think they'll try and contest this one. Taxa
and no
looks like he is actually going to jump in. Yeah, we've got LeBlanc on the mid-pro as well. Ruddy will leave it alone. I do think like securing that crab was quite important. If you have 0 information in that river, then it becomes a lot harder for you to try and stop that from going down. But all good there for Verdant. Just putting a bit of a pause button on this early game where Ruddy should have the advantage from that bot side gathered with the Zyra Khan as they close in on those ultimates being available and that all-in being ever so close here, especially as Zapdo on that Nocturne will be hitting his Paranoia, his ulti, and he'll be able to fly in and they'll really be able to make something happen. That is a massive cursor in comparison to the rest of the characters on screen. Like, holy moly. Whoever's observing is overcompensating for something for sure.
That's brutal, actually. That's a rough one. He was already caught up by the mistake, and then you... Absolutely brutal. Regardless, though, I do want to try and drag our conversation more towards the top side. With Herald spawning in just 15 seconds, we've seen so much focus on the bot lane so far, but I think it's about time the junglers seem to recognize the top laner's existence. Or maybe I'm wrong, because Texa, still finding himself on the bot side, will be spotted out by the ward, though. Herald could be quickly started up here. Maybe Nida looks to be caught out by Ruddy. Envy carry. It's a bit of damage on, but obviously you're LeBlanc, you're very safe.
Yep. I mean, like, the big thing about that Scuttle take on bot lane as well is that MV Carry gave up that mid prio so he could get some minions so he could lose less, not so he could be winning the lane. Look at the state of that lane right now. Look how far ahead Niter is, and that's with Echo and the map buying time for him. The classic LeBlanc counter coming out again, although with a static Shiv build that may make it a bit less viable in those team fights later on, which, as we've already said, Ruddy will almost definitely win.
It's interesting to see Niter opt into the static Shiv, not just because it's, 13-13 and it's not as good right now, but he's already got an incredibly strong split push presence on his team in Nilla, right, in that Fiora. And you look at that, how it's going on right now, 85 CS to 44. Insane, but here's the diving bot.
Yeah, Paranoia already popped, but it looks to be a very bad one for Septo. First blood over to Verdant. In the 3v2 scenario, they are faltering this dive heavily. Someone has used, but it doesn't matter. Ruddy could lose even more here. Is down. Goes Pew. That's 2 kills into the hands of Verdant, and they are on the board with the counter move on the game.
We said Verdant were the engage and Ruddy were the disengage, but Ruddy are the ones that go for the first aggressive engage dive of the game. And they don't have the same tools that Verdant do to turn that around. Verdant can just instantly burst down the Nocturne, turn it into a 2v2 under their turret, and suddenly they have all of the advantages. That's not how Ruddy should be looking to play this composition, and they've been summarily punished for it.
What were they thinking there, though? Like, a Nocturne engage on the dive? Like, that Verdant were on full HP, under tower, minions there as well. Did they... Taxa could have been there as well. Like, that just seemed like a ridiculous play. I don't know what they were trying to overforce there. Like, absolutely hideously done. Like, Nocturne is not that kind of champion. Like, yeah, you can get some good engages from some really wacky angles and really far away, because that's just, that is Nocturne's niche, but that is not how you do it. And my goodness, this game has gotten off to a terrible start here for Ruddy. Like, topside was already mega doomed, and now they've doomed bot. Yeah, it's not good. Taxa here is looking to make that impact in top as well. Like, it's all over here.
Yeah, I mean, he's just dead here. He's caught out. Nice play by Verdant. They will now put down the Herald as well. That's maybe, 3-4 plays, if not even a full turn into Nilla, who's already pretty much almost double the CS of Shihan. This game
4,000 gold lead. 4,000, man.
Within a couple of minutes.
10 minutes. It's illegal. It's absolutely illegal. Straight up, like, I just don't know. It's like such a good. A lot of that gold will be on the top side. Like, if we want to take a look at the positives, I guess, well, it's not really a positive at all, is it? It just sucks. It just really, really sucks here if you're Ruddy. This is a terrible start. If this is a scrim, it would be all F forward and you go next. Like that, 100%. This one is not looking too hot right here. And yeah, Knight is also brilliant mid with like 40 CS lead there too. It's really tough here for Ruddy. They've dug themselves into a pretty deep hole, and it's going to be hard for them to get out.
I'll give some copium here. Like, yes, the Fiora is one of the hard... Like, they have 2 ridiculously hard countering Sir lanes, and Ruddy knew this going into the draft that they were going to end up with these kinds of lane states. They were expecting 2 losing lanes and a fortress lane, and they want to make those comebacks on those tier 3s, because eventually, no matter how good you are, you will have to team fight that Ruddy team, and you don't make Ornn any less useful by killing him once.
He wants to gang down bot lane. He hasn't his buddy, but eyes on the top lane. Paranoia coming through. Great fight from Nilla to get away from the Ornn. Horn will still be fear. Did he forget to use the fear?
Nah, he
No,
dashed
he used
out
the fear
there.
and then he
Backed out of it.
disengaged.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's not a mistake. That's just a nice outplay by Nila,
Yeah.
who managed to get out of a 1v2 situation.
Oof. Yeah, and this Taxa Gang bot did absolutely nothing, which was well read there by Ruddy and well evaded too. Oh, but Gooby could be caught
A potentially
here.
good counter engage actually. Gooby's so low, does have the ultimate available. Killer instinct to get out to safety. Ruddy unable to find their first kill of the game still.
Ooh.
First straight going over into the hands of Verdant. Nice move here by Ruddy, but just not quite enough to get the kill.
But this wasn't ult for ult, which is very massive, because the big thing about this matchup is that Kai'Sa ult timing comes up 10 seconds after Desire ult timing, well, the other way around actually. So if it was ult for ult there, it would have been really good for Verdant. As is, Ruddy had the option to make a play on next, and Nocturne is bot side.
He's got no ult though. Nocturne without ulti is really not a threat, right? Verdant are very confident playing in this situation, and yeah, Taxa's hovering. He's got his ultimate up now as well. Some really juicy targets here in this bot side. You have to feel like this is a dive waiting to happen, and Ruddy needs to have a response if it's gonna fall.
Oh, that's clean dash. Forces the cleanse. Featherstorm still available. Could look to try and get something. No one able to get a root down. Does survive, but it comes at a price with Nida now rotating down as well. Safety is not yet secure from Ruddy, but as they back away, it looks to be some plates given up. Nida will just be there to facilitate the plates being taken.
Yeah, but Zapdo peeled off of Pugs in towards his jungle, further towards mid lane. He was not leaning on bot side. You have to think he's leaning to bot side though. With Gooby's HP there was definitely much more room for Ruddy to play forward off of that cleanse, and it could have maybe turned into something, but the small opportunities Ruddy have in the early, they're not taking advantage of. Verdant are taking advantage of all the massive opportunities that they have from draft.
I mean, that's so rough for Shihan. He can't even defend his own turret.
5 plates on Nila.
That's 5 plates on Nila. He's gotten the kill as well. He's already at 1 item. He's 10 CS a minute.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, it's just so terribly, hideously doomed from Ruddy at this point. Like, how do you stabilize from this position of this solo gap right now? Like, it's so insane how much map control you get when your mid lane alone is winning, but now that you've got Fiora, who's like on the way to flame horizoning his opponent in the one, well, not even the 1v1, he's been ganked. So I guess Taxa to go top with the Herald actually.
Looking for the engage. There's no ult, no cleanse on Toast. They could be in a lot of trouble here. Nida coming down as well. Good root on 3. Flash as well. Nida though could look to follow. Still has the ult available. Auto attack will do it. The static shift, despite the nerfs, get the kill, and Toast's best efforts were not enough. He did end up getting Toast in the end.
Not nerfed on champions though, so Naito with the correct build for this exact situation that they definitely knew was coming from draft.
Yeah, of course it is.
Right clicking champions for the last hit. Exactly. It is quite oppressive, right? Having some more control in the lane. Like, I know it is nerfed, but it still does something, I guess. And like, it is what is really underrated, I would say, about the static shiv. Like, obviously everyone was talking about the effect, right? The shiv effect, the lightning effect, that just one-shot minion waves. It was gross, hideous stuff on AP champions. That did get nerfed, that did get changed. But what I feel like was really underappreciated was the fact that it builds its AD and crit on these ranged champions. Like, you're essentially what everyone hates about top lane Kennen. You're bringing that into the mid lane on a champion like LeBlanc, right? When Kennen starts like Doran's blade and just right clicks you and gets all that disgusting trade off. Like, it's so hard to lane when you're just getting harassed with autos constantly, and like sometimes every 5th auto attack's critting you as well. Like, it's really hard to play against, and that's not even taking into consideration the lightning charge here. Is that don't envy carry that they're looking to try and make a play, try and turn something around.
Nida, he fends himself in the 1v2. Meanwhile, envy carry taken down to half HP here on the engage, has to back off Septo. Flash available, ward needed as Nida dashes forward. It's the static shift, baby. That's all Nida needs. And now the rest of Verdant are collapsing in this game. The casket is open. They just need to kick Ruddy down one more time to secure this win. You have to feel this dive could really be the end all be all. The minion wave, though, luckily denying Shelly's engage underneath the turret, so they'll just dance around for a couple moments more. Shihan has teleported in to try and help his team in this situation.
Here we go.
Oh, I don't know what to say. There it goes. The ultimate gets blown. Very good re-engage potentially.
Nice.
Could be enough. They get Goopy early on, but they'll lose everyone else. You have to feel Nila full HP just ripping up the fight. They've got one back. They've gotten on the board, but that's all Ruddy will be this game, because they can take that one kill and then they can head home with the loss.
mate, more than a loss. This is a kick in the nads. This game, you're third in the league at this point. If you're Ruddy, you're 5-3. Like you kind of found your foot. You started off terrible, and you had a good showing, and you brought yourself back up in the standings. And this game, you just, my god, 9,000 difference, 9,000 gold at 17 minutes. It's so. Like, this has not just been a victory for Verdant. I haven't even won yet, but I think we can comfortably say this one is donezo and dusted. But not just donezo and dusted. It's a statement here from Verdant. Like, this is ridiculous stuff right here. Their 5-win streak, looking to extend that, going to 8. I know it says they're 6-1, but they're actually 7-1 so far here in the standings. Like, these guys are just looking absolutely dominant. It's really, really gross stuff. And here we go. Can Ruddy change things around? No.
Like,
you can't catch him.
Just dashes the screen away all of a sudden, and then you're really in a bad situation because while that was going on, you lose a Drake on the bot side. Your recall now be cancelled as well. Ay.
It's an if, though. It's an if Verdant actually do play out the map. Very typically, 1-3-1s don't end up getting played out properly. Very few teams are able to do it, even on an LEC level. It's not like the game is completely over yet. They did just turn their 7k gold lead into a 9k gold lead, and they look almost unstoppable on sides. But even there, without their AD carry, their main source of damage, Ruddy were able to trade a kill back. So it's not like Verdant are going to be completely invincible. It is still, they have a much harder composition to play out map-wise. If they're allowed to just individually one-on-one and skirmish their opponents, yes, they will very cleanly win this. But that's a big if. Ruddy have to give them that opportunity. Ruddy can just say, alright, we'll allow you to extend that 9k gold lead to maybe even like a 10k gold lead. But when it gets to the tier 3s, we still have a lot of utility. And if you guys can't even use your abilities, we don't really think that gold lead matters as much. We've seen wilder comebacks, right? We've seen wilder comebacks.
That's
and I'm
true.
still looking at a full team fight composition, right? With a very good mix of damage.
I have a question for you, veteran.
Yeah.
Does it make you dizzy, huffing all that copium?
Damn.
I'm trying to extend the cast as long as humanly possible, right? But like genuinely, if a team was to ever come back at this point, it would be a 5-on-5 team against a full split push team, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Especially a
you're
full
right.
split push team
It
that hasn't
can
met the patch
happen.
notes.
It can theoretically happen. We have seen SKT versus EDG 2017 happen before, right? It could happen again. There was also Rakan on the team as well back then. You know, could find the all-in that's needed, turn the fight around. I mean, maybe, right? But we are really, really grasping at straws here because at the moment they're playing it safe. They're pushing down on the turrets. They have to find the wombo combo, and it has to be perfect. This could be it. But at the beginning, it doesn't really look like it, though they're going on towards Scooby, but a good flash away gets him out to safety. Now Envy carries the target for Verdant as they look to lock him down. Sheehan falls in the front line. Here comes Scooby, and he will dash right in for the kill with the killer instinct. Finds it onto Envy carry. Will look for Toast as well, who heads up into the Feather Storm. And that's enough to save his own life, but that really felt like the final team fight with Baron now on the cards as well. Verdant will take it, no contestation.
Yeah, if you're not even willing to give up the tier 2, then you're just going to opt into losing fights. The longer the game goes on for, the better it should be for Ruddy. If you're trying to take a fight now, you're just making the game faster, and you're making your eventual loss a lot quicker.
Yeah, not a great fight there, unfortunately. I mean, Ruddy with the right idea, I guess, trying to force the engage with the Ornn somewhat catching Gooby, like he did have to flash over the wall. But at this situation, like, you're just so far behind as far as money goes. Like, you have to find the absolute perfect fight. And to be honest, I'm not really sure such a thing exists anymore in this game. We are now, what's that, 14k difference here in gold totals. It's just growing and growing. Steadily, surely, not even slowly but surely, just rapidly but surely, it is growing, and it's becoming harder here for Ruddy to find that comeback. Do you want to try and find those picks, I guess, like with the Ornn and the Nocturne combination? The problem is, like, you absolutely can't do it to Nile. You have to find someone else isolated. Maybe you can find Nita, maybe, but it's a lot of ifs and buffs, and it's going to be very difficult for Ruddy to find that window.
I really think you're more likely to kill Nilla than Nita here, by the way. I think Nita's immense range on his dashes is going to be a much harder thing for you to compensate for than a no Conqueror Fiora.
But I think that then again, you know, it is a whole Poké Fiora, so as long as she's alone, she should be fine, unless it's a 5v1 PU. Can't quite find the engage flash to follow. Nila
They're not
dashing
even
around.
here.
Oh, that's a nice play. Toaster. Flex forward as well. They will get it. You're proven
They
right,
will.
veteran. You are proven right. As Nida will come in to watch his teammate die. In the meantime, though, the base looks to be cracked open here by Verdant as they'll open up the mid lane. Who got the kill in the end? That was Seth, though. Not quite the best target, but it's a kill nonetheless. Big shutdown. And Envy Carry able to get the Chrono Break out to safety. As the fight could still go on here. 4v5 in favor of Ruddy, but they're pretty low after taking down Nila in the top side. So they go back to their base and regroup.
The big thing that a lot of the current nerfs have done is that they've gotten rid of point-and-click champions, not just lane bully champions, and LeBlanc is generally countered by those kinds of champions. The only thing that I can see on the team that has the capacity to potentially deal with LeBlanc is Zapdo on that Nocturne, so that is a decent place to put your gold, but the time you had to split the map and trade, it's over.
Oh yeah, already want this fight. They really do. Envy Carry has TP'd in on the
Groovy.
back. They want Groovy, but he's flying into the front line instead to find himself the double kill. Could look for even more. Toaster goes up into the air. Groovy taken down in the end, but Texa, he's too tanky, he's too strong. And with
Niter
Nita
in the
coming
base.
in to add some assistance, this surely will be game. Niter taking down the Nexus turret. I liked how Ruddy fought in the end to try and find a way back in, but the door was already closed in their face. It will be Verdant who pick up their 8th victory of the split out of 9 possible, and they are looking to dominate the NLC yet again.
The moral of the story is, if you are 17k gold